G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people. Bit of breaking news for you, and it's one that kind of came very much out the blue, really, all things considered. It's that Joseph Parker has now signed a long-term promotional deal with Ben Shalom, Boxer, and Sky Sports. So Joseph Parker, moving forward, will be a Sky Sports fighter, be working with Boxer. Now, this caught me, and I can imagine for some of the fans, some of the viewers watching this video, would have caught them a bit off guard as well. For the simple reason is that, well, obviously Parker's last few, I think for the last certainly 3 years, he's been with Eddie Hearn and DAZN. Now, the fact that he was at the Fury White fight and Frank Warren was basically, without announcing a date, thanks very much for that, Frank, announcing that Joe Joyce would be fighting Joe Parker on BT Sports, it kind of led people to believe, okay, so he's gone from Hearn and looks like he's working with Warren. Now, obviously, they were talking about July the 2nd for Joe Joyce versus Joe Parker. Obviously, there was that thing about Andy Lee and his wife expecting or due a baby that day, that particular, maybe not that particular day, but that particular week. So that's why the fight was pushed back. Well, I would imagine that fight is now dead in the water, and well, maybe not necessarily. I mean, maybe the WBO, because they're both highly ranked, will still order it, but it's going to be a bit more difficult now. I mean, I don't know. Frank Warren doesn't have a good relationship with anyone, but surely he's not going to have as bad of a relationship with Shalom that he does with Hearn. So maybe they will do that fight. Maybe they do it on, he'd be willing to let Parker go. I don't know. And to cut a long story short, Joe Parker now working with Ben Shalom, a Boxer. So it's interesting because I can see why. Because if you think about it at DAZN, now it could all change because DAZN could potentially, because we've heard nothing been announced, but let's just say potentially they could have AJ. But AJ, as we know, is signed to fight Usyk. So, and if he loses to Usyk, loses bad, I mean, that could really go belly up for DAZN. But that could be the only real star heavyweight they have. They obviously have Chisora, but obviously Joe Parker's fought Chisora twice. We're not screaming out for a trilogy fight. We don't want to see that. So we'll tick that one off. Who else do they have? They certainly have up-and-coming heavyweights, like Johnny Fisher. But how good is Johnny Fisher realistically going to be? And how many years will it take for him to get to any kind of level? Frank Warren has a couple of heavyweights in the stable. Dubois, Joe Joyce, just to name a few. Obviously Tyson Fury, but they're never going to fight. But if you look at Ben Shalom and Boxer, there is a couple. I strongly suspect, and I just think this just because with my managerial hat on, to me it just makes sense. And obviously I'm not a manager, but just looking at everything from the outside looking in, it makes sense for Dillian Whyte to sign with, if he wants to stay on pay-per-view and he wants to try and maximise his income, I would suggest probably he's going to, if he carries on his career, which is likely he will do, he's probably going to go with Boxer and Sky. More than likely. Most likely. If you look at some of the other fighters that Boxer and Sky have, now obviously they have Hughie Fury, and I think I speak for everyone watching this video when I say we're not exactly going to be screaming for the Hughie Fury rematch. Certainly not. But that is an option nevertheless for Joe Parker, if worst case scenario. But Ben Shalom is making moves in boxing. He's doing some good work, it has to be said. At the end of the day, Sky and Boxer and Ben Shalom, a lot of their shows haven't been great. They haven't been great, it's fair to say. But this is still a growing stable. It's a growing stable. It's not like Ben Shalom was working with ITV. Just hypothetically, say he was working with ITV, he had a full stable of fighters, and he's changing them from ITV to Sky. It's not like that. He's starting from fresh. As he said himself, Richard Riakporhe was his first signing. He's slowly building up, but he's doing good work, Ben Shalom, and getting these fighters in. He is. And he's doing good work by getting heavyweights. Fraser Clark, Hughie Fury, although he's the most exciting heavyweight in the world. Potentially Dillian Whyte, now he's got Joe Parker. He's doing a good thing by getting these guys in. He is. And for DAZN, personally, I feel for DAZN losing Joe Parker will hit them. And I'll tell you why. Because Joseph Parker may not be the biggest name in the UK, may not be the biggest name in the US, but in the Oceanic region for the Zone, Joseph Parker is a big name. I mean, in New Zealand, in Australia, Joe Parker's a big deal down there. The Zone, if someone wants to correct me, but I'm completely sure it is, it's a bit. I don't think they get as many fights in the Oceanic region of the world as we in the UK would. Like, we get everything. But I do think that there are certainly some UK, potentially some US shows that, if there's any fans of mine or viewers of mine in New Zealand, in Australia, want to confirm this. But as far as I was aware, there are some shows that are on the Zone that you guys don't get. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But in terms of Parker bringing in that Oceanic region subscriber base to the Zone, that will hit them. Because it's good to have, the Zone want to be a global platform, a global brand. So it's good to have people. You have a star in Asia, Japan, Inoue. I know he's not with the Zone, but let's just say that brings in some of, Japanese in around that region. You have Parker in the Oceanic region, Australia, New Zealand, brings them in. You have, say, Tabisa Machunu, Lunga Makabu, excuse me, down in Southern Africa. I think Tabisa Machunu is South African. Makabu is from the Congo, I think. There's another part of the world, Canelo in America, looking down South America. Can't think of any at the minute, but someone wants to correct me, put a name in there. And obviously in the UK, Europe, AJ, someone like Usyk. So you want to get these kind of guys who are big in their own region. And I'm going off a bit here on a tangent, but it will make it more global because you have the big stars in the global region, so you'll gain subscribers in said country, so it's a bit more universal. I'm going off on one there a bit. But in terms of Joe Parker with Boxer, at the end of the day, they're building the stable. Joe Parker's obviously had a look at Boxer, and he obviously thinks that maybe they will get him the fights that potentially he wouldn't be able to get on the Zone, that potentially Frank Warren. I'm a bit surprised with the Frank Warren one because he's in camp with Tyson Fury, and Fury is promoted by Warren as well as being promoted by Bob Arum. He has worked with Bob Arum in the past, has Joe Parker. When he was managed and promoted by Dooku, Bob Arum was his guy in the States. So I would imagine that Fury would have given him advice on Frank and would have obviously bigged Frank up, I would imagine. But obviously he feels that the offer he's got from Ben Shalom is substantially better. Ben Shalom will get him to a title shot sooner, potentially, even though it's a bit held up now. Wait and see. So, long-term deal with Boxer, Ben Shalom for Joe Parker. Interesting one now. I really didn't expect it. But in terms of Boxer, I think it's a good move. The more heavyweights you can get, the better. Parker is a very talented heavyweight, albeit I think he holds back an awful lot, which annoys me. But it's a good move nonetheless, I think, certainly for Ben Shalom and Boxer. Getting more heavyweights into their division, into their scene, and I think it's going to help. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think that Joe Parker is foolish for leaving the Zone? Do you think that this is a bad move? Do you think he should have went with Frank Warren? Or do you disagree with all that and think, realistically for Joe Parker, I know he's close to Fury, but America's where it's at. You should have went to America. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll talk to you people. Peace.